Frozen Music is a video series from ABB presenting unique building projects and the architects behind them to a global community. Follow us around the world.
Welcome back, and now we're going to hear about the fourth in our sequence of winners in the future projects categories for WAF 2021. This project, Revitalizing Rural Communities, won the civic category. It's in, as you can see, Giza in Egypt, and to tell us about it are Verform. So please take the presentation away.
Thank you. We are very honored and pleased to present Dar Arab Sanae today on behalf of the community, the Arab Sanae village. Dar actually means homeland. That's the reason we called it with the name of the village itself. I'm calling it an opportunity, not a project. It's an opportunity for us to give a gift to the village and to learn as well and to go through their culture and we had a long discussions with them as well. If I'm putting this under a big statement, I would say it's about the rural-urban migration. I believe that the pandemic could offer governments the ability to invest in rural communities. And we have seen what happened after the post-pandemic, and most of the people, or a lot of people actually moved to the countrysides. Our vision is to revitalize and strengthen the rural communities through sustainable community building practices. We are talking about a global health crisis. Approximately 400 million people have little to no access to the healthcare. 200 million of those people, actually, they are in the countrysides. We are talking about Egypt, about one of the countries that have a new child is born every 13.5 seconds in Egypt, especially on the countrysides. It is a new way of looking to the Egyptian countrysides. I like to call it more like a constant states of change by building hope for people through the creation of places and identity. It's kind of like zooming out from the urban condition and social relations to zooming in again into the micro object we find in the village itself. The Arab Sanae, it's actually located in the south here, far from Cairo, around 85 kilometers. That's a zoom in here to the area. So as you can see, it's and we took a long journey several times to discuss the program and what the village actually need. This is one of the existing buildings that we tried actually to, and there's a story behind it. There's actually, it's kind of donation or charity for after the death of Dua, and her mom actually contacted me after this. She was kind of helping the villages, and she's running a small charity organization. And then I told her if there is any opportunity, we would like to be involved in projects like this, especially after I saw the image that you see here in the screen. We are calling it more like the design narrative. It's kind of from tragedy to hope. So it started by the death of Dua, and then right now it's giving a hope for a lot of people. And we took it from the initiation through the research, through the implementation after this. This is actually the transportation that we use in the village there. So it's called Tuk Tuk. Those are the community kids and the people that we met. It's for us, it's kind of opening a window of hope for the community. We are talking about 4,000 families, 4,000 overall residents, approximately 16,000 children. The project will not only serve this community, it will serve also two other villages. So it's covering 3 villages overall. It's about health, it's about learn, it's about education, about work, about workshops, worship as well. So we tried kind of reactivating the project in another way by detecting the underlying issues. So we went through all the issues that the villages actually are suffering from. And then after this, we started to outline the socio-economic and health impact. And then through the process till the end, until we come up with hopefully a holistic community upliftment and prosperity. That's the framework that we tried to kind of work within it. The design principles, it's about climate responsive, it's about culturally sensitive, cost efficient and sustainable. It's a human-centered project. That's how we call it. And then going through the context and the existing building and the learning actually from Arab Sanae village, if you can see that image, this is something that we have seen all the way through the village. So you see the layers of how this is how the people are building by themselves. So we found that it's kind of it's sending a message to us actually. And then another image here, as you can see, there is always a transitional space beside each home connected to the home. And also we found a lot of perforation happening in the walls in a different shapes. So this is all kind of, we are learning through it. Again, another arch is an opening, and this is a little bit more modern home than the previous one. At the end, we came up with a conclusion about the materiality and as you can see, bricks, concrete, mud, wood, and the palm reed as well. I don't want to read all of this, but I want to come up with a conclusion to tell you that it's all about the right to life. As we say it in Arabic, al-haqq fil hayah. That's what we want actually, and that's what's behind the project. To take you through the massing built up, that's the existing situation of the village. This is the big plot, the two plots beside each other. That's the north direction. It is two plots beside each others, with a corridor, big corridor in the middle, and we wanted to keep this actually all the way. The challenge actually is the plot size itself. We have 8 meter by 22 meter, and it was for me like, are we going really to design something there? That's the existing condition. It's 2-story building. The ground floor, it's more for men prayer area, and then the upper floor, half of it for female prayer area, and then there is classrooms, there is workshops for them to learn something, and also to become, it will bring kind of investment also back to the community. And the initial brief actually was to build a 5-story in this area. And I was totally against it from the beginning, and we delayed the design until we made all the research with the village to know exactly what's their needs and what they want. And we came up with a more humble structure, that 2 floors, almost following the same height of the existing building. And then we made analysis for the current existing structure, and we found that building can actually we can build again another 2 floors above it. So we started to underlay somehow the buildings above each others, and then we made a little bit setback from the roof to have the service area there, which is the kitchen and the room service that will serve the entire clinical building, because most of the clinics are in that building. Again, having more spiritual place where people will just go on the top. It will be like more madrasa or kind of a place where they can learn more religion. And then they have also kind of outdoor spaces where they can have a connection with the outdoor. Again, adding a landmark, because people are coming from the 3 villages to walk by walking, so they need to know where is the location. So again, giving back again one more time to the village by giving the rooftop as a roof garden. What you can see here, that's the new building. So we have 2 axes for the building because of the size. We created a courtyard in the middle here where they can have access direct to the outpatient clinic, and they can also have a transitional space here, same like what we learned from their homes, and then they can access through the emergency area and some of the services for the clinic. And then going to the upper floor, still the courtyard gets the bigger space. So we kind of give a nice internal space here between the 2 buildings. And then again, other clinical in that area. And also this kind of connection was actually to save the area and use the staircase here as a fire exit as well. So we are also thinking about all the technical issues while we're working. That's the new building that we added, and this is the link between them. The hatched area, it's for the new building. If it's white, then it means that this is here, for example, this is the area, this is for the new building, this is the existing building. And then you can see here through many sections through just to give you an idea about the spaces and how the spaces are connected with each others. And then that's at the end, it comes up with this community hub. So this is the building that we are trying to renovate the facade, and then we are trying to add also. That's the overall feeling of the project. Again, adding another layer here, it's kind of rework to create a sense of arrival for the prayer area, and then we'll have different access from here to the rest of the building. And then after this, we exploded all the components one more time, and we started to think about each component, detail it, and see what's the best scenario, what's the best proportion, what's the best height for the spaces. We built a very small physical model for each part and for the project, as you can see, for the patterns that can be used in the facade. So it was kind of involving the community to bring back actually all their needs and by engaging them in several actions and discussions as well. And in the same time, in the office, we're trying to build something. That's the ground floor plan, where you can see the left side is the clinical and the right side is the main prayer area. And then the first floor here, it's showing you again the rest of the clinical with the courtyard in the middle. And then upper floor again clinical and the connection with the new. So here all this floor is the part of the new building. And then this is the the rooftop, where we use the outdoor spaces to be an extension of the building. More sections just to give you an idea of that's the new building. This is the facade for the old building and the additional parts that we added. That's the main elevation. Again, we went through design exploration, where we checked most of the spaces again one more time to make sure that we are giving the right decision and discussion through the discussion with the community. And again, that's the last part of the presentation. Where you can see here most of the outdoor spaces, it's like waiting areas, almost blending with the nature and blending with the community. That's the transition space, acting as a waiting space for the emergency and for the clinical areas. This is one clinic from inside. This is the waiting area also. We have 50% of the waiting area inside and 50% outside. At the end, it's I believe in what Remkla said, the countryside is where the radical changes are. And I would like to thank all the sub-consultants and the specialists that was involved in the project. And at the end, it's all about the right to life. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. We'll have to get the questions in quickly. Mariana, would you like to start?
Can you talk a little bit more about the arch's shape and why you chose to use it, how symbolic it is for your
Yep, sure. Actually, through the presentation, there was learning from the community itself, and also the way how they are building. It was one of the inspiration that we found in the community. So we was kind of repeating the same elements of the village and what actually the community designed by themselves as well. That's the reason we use the arch. The arch that we have on the top for the dome itself. Because we didn't want to create like a very high dome, so we created kind of arch, so at night you can see just some light perforated out from there that can give you a sense of that there's a dome, there is a mosque there, so they can get a hint of the views of the existing building.
Okay, thank you. Peter.
Yes, it's you spoke a lot about the sort of humbleness of the place and the humbleness of the buildings and so on. But in fact, what you've got is a kind of castle. I mean, it's by far the largest thing in the district, and it has certain it has certain aesthetic overtones of a major building. It's complex. It has a dome, etc., etc. It has a tower of some sort, and though you went through the interesting motion of saying it was going to be higher, and then we kind of damped it down. But then what in fact happened is that in the end there's a lot of sort of formal sculptural activity. There's a lot, and in fact it's still quite a big building. Now I think then that raises another issue, which is perhaps the humility thing wasn't really necessary, because it was going to be the biggest thing in the district anyhow. And
yeah.
And it also it has certain degrees of how can I say, sense of I won't use the word theatre again, but a sense of kind of circumstance, of, entry areas, light filtering down, some high rooms and so on. So I think I'm intrigued that you found it necessary to go through the humility conversation, because in my mind, it's not actually a humble building in the final analysis, but maybe this is a critique rather than a question.
Do you want me to answer, or?
I think give a quick reaction to it, because then I've got a couple of questions I'd like to ask.
I totally agree that that it's at the end of the building, comparing with what's happening in the community, it still looks bigger than all the buildings there, and it's kind of a massive building, but it's kind of solving the issue of the existing building, because what we have seen, the building there is kind of not matching with how actually the community look and the context around it. And instead of going with a very high building, at the end they need this kind of facilities. Also, the reason that we are going a little bit vertical, it's because of the lands there are not. It's most of the lands there more for agriculture. So it's kind of limiting going horizontal more than going vertical. That's maybe the main reason behind it, but I agree with you. But the main reason was because of the existing building. We are trying to solve the issue that we have there, plus also adding. We don't want to add like a separate building. We want to make all the building like more like acting as a community hub for them to learn, to pray, to also for the clinics as well.
Okay, Anka, would you like to ask a question?
I just was wondering, was there any instance at which you thought about the new intervention and the old building as it existed, whether it had some dialogue that could be created, or does that exist in the internal experiences? Because the old and new kind of have seamlessly, or rather, they've kind of really merged into one another. It's almost like a new building now, the way it comes through. So is there something that you thought about, or was that important in the journey? Would the villagers relate to the old building in some ways?
No, actually the old building, it was mainly in the red bricks, and they used concrete and only maybe one facade only that they painted, and then the rest they left it as red bricks. So that's the reason we kind of added one layer for the riwaq, for the welcoming approach, for the praying area, and then we kind of used the same feeling of the entire village just to reflect it in all the community. And as I said, the perforated walls that they use, the arches that they use. So we try to learn and take kind of the architectural elements that they have in their houses, and because mainly it's more houses happening around this area. So yeah, that's my answer.
Sure.
I find the combination of functions interesting, as I always do, I think, when we look at public buildings. But the two main ones seem to be healthcare and religion. And that seems to me to be an incredibly traditional idea of putting those together. If you go back 500 or 600 years, certainly in Europe, if you wanted to have any healthcare, you would have to go to a religious building, and because it was only monasteries that could offer that.
Yeah.
Is this something that is typical in Egypt, to combine those two functions, or is it particular to this project?
Yes, it is. It is happening, especially in the countrysides, where they always have because the mosque at the end, after only they use it only in the praying time, but then after this, it's acting more like a learning space where people can just gather and learn something. So there will be one person, let's say because there are few people are educated in those villages, so they will kind of teach the rest of the people. So I think the mosque, if I'm just counting it correctly, so it will be used like 10 minutes, 5 times per day. So the rest of the day, I cannot call it a mosque. It's transforming to a different place. Also, when through our research, we found that yeah. We didn't want actually to create it more like a mini hospital. It's more like clinical, because the condition of the village, they will not be able to do any surgeries. And with the money that people will donate for this, we are planning to have the ambulance card that can just move them immediately to the nearest hospital, which is approximately 7 kilometers far from the village. But for the daily use, I think it is important to have all the spaces. That's why we call it like a community space where you can just do everything there.
And does this combination of functions, particularly including a religious use, help to reassure people that getting healthcare is somehow all right? It's socially acceptable to get it because it's a building that they might visit for religious purposes as well as for modern healthcare.
No, I think people are very simple. I've met them, we talk to them, and I think they are very, very simple. And they use the mosque for praying, and then at the gathering space as well. So even after praying, they will just sit inside the mosque and talk to each other. So for me, it's more acting as a community hub, even the mosque by itself. Again, the mosque and what's above the mosque is something existing, but we wanted from our research, we found that they are lack of healthcare more than let's say a place for praying. We can pray anywhere. Yeah. We can just in any empty field we can pray there. So we feel that the additional part is adding value to the community hub and also helping the people to get better healthcare, especially after the pandemic and what happened. It was really very tough in the countryside.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm afraid we've run out of time. Thank you for presenting the project, and congratulations on winning the category. And we're going to take another short break before coming back for the 5th in our series of presentations of winners of future project categories. And this next one will be the winner of the competition entries category. So see you all in a moment. Thank you.